Hey guys, welcome to the part 5 of my video series on creating a serverless REST application using AWS and the Python programming language. So in the last video, we learned a bit about AWS CloudFormation and we saw how it can be used to model and provision our project's cloud infrastructure resources. But there is still something which we can automate. Currently, we have to open the AWS console and submit our CloudFormation template every time. Also, the code that we have been submitting to the Lambda function till now is just a single file. But what if we have a complete Python project with multiple modules and dependencies? In that case, we will have to upload all our code to S3, the simple storage service first, and then we will provide its location to the Lambda function. So all these tasks which are currently being done manually, they all can be automated by something called AWS SAM. So SAM stands for Serverless Application Model, and it is an open source framework which can be used to build serverless applications on AWS. So what exactly is SAM? So SAM basically provides you two main things. Number one, a SAM template specification. So this template specification is a bit different from the regular CloudFormation templates, and it basically simplifies the creation of AWS resources which are required for creating serverless applications such as AWS Lambda or API Gateway. Also, the second thing that SAM provides you is a CLI, the SAM CLI, which provides several useful commands which will help you to create, develop, and further deploy your serverless application. So in this video, we are going to see how to use SAM, and also we'll be setting up our project for our Serverless REST API. So without any delay, let's get started. Okay, so let us get started right away by creating a new PyCharm project. So this is my PyCharm in which I'm just going to click on create new project, and I'm going to go with a pure Python project in which I'm going to give my name, give my project some name, and I'm going to call it, let's say my project is my-project. So that name doesn't matter actually. And then finally going to click on create. So it is also going to create a new virtual environment for me, right? So let's wait for it to get created. Okay, so right now it is creating my virtual environment. So the virtual environment will be created on the root of my package. So this is my project in which there is the virtual environment, as we can see, right? So it is as simple as that. And now let us see what we have to do next. So this is my terminal where, as you can see, the virtual environment is already activated. So now the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to install AWS SAM CLI. So it is pip install AWS SAM CLI. So once I will be installing AWS SAM CLI, then I'll be able to use the SAM CLI, right? So we are going to use the Python package of the SAM CLI. So this is one of the ways of installing SAM. Actually, there are multiple ways, but I think this is the safest option. This is the best option. So you can just go with installing SAM through pip only. Okay, so it will install all the dependencies, and once that is done, we are gonna use a sample template provided by SAM. So our project will be a sample template initially. So once everything gets installed, we're gonna do that only. So it is installing all the required libraries, and let's wait a bit. Okay, so it is installing all these collected packages, so it looks fine. And now it is running the setup.py install for all these packages. Cool. Okay, so everything got installed. So now what we're going to do is we're going to write SAM init. So SAM init will create a new SAM project for me. So it is asking me which template source would I like to use. So I'm going to go with a quick start template. So I'm just going to click on one. Now I have the option of choosing the language. So I'm going to go with Python 3.6 because I have Python 3.6 on my system as well. If you have Python 3.7 in your system, you can go with the 8th option here, which is Python 3.7. And even better, if you have Python 3.8, just go with second one. So I'm just going to go with Python 3.6 for now. So it is 9th option. Now the name of my project. So this name of my project, let me call it student-API. So that will be my project name. And now it is cloning the sample template. And now it is asking me which one do I want. So I'm just gonna go with the hello world example, the simplest example of all. So yeah, it is done. So let us see what all we have got. Okay, so in my project I have got student API in which we have a lot of files here. So the first thing which catches my attention is template.yaml. So if you remember in the last video when we used CloudFormation, we created a template, a CloudFormation template, but now we already have one which got created by SAM. So this is a very simple and actually a sample template that we have. So let us see what all we have. The first thing that you should notice here is the transform thing here. So the transform here is AWS serverless and something. So this says that this is a SAM template, not a simple CloudFormation template. So it might have some extra properties. So the first extra property that we can see here is called globals. So globals, under globals, if you put function and then you put any property, then all the Lambda functions that you will define under the resources will get that property automatically. So this helps you when you have a lot of Lambda functions and there is something common between all of them, then you can just put it in globals, and you can read more about globals by going to this link here. So it is as simple as that. So let us look at the resources. So it is interesting that it created only one resource, which is hello world function, and look at its type. It is not AWS Lambda function, it is AWS serverless function. So you can learn more about it by going to this link, and in the properties we can see that it is giving code URI, not the code. So code URI, it is hello world slash. Okay, so we will try to understand it a bit more, but before that let's look at another thing which is called events. So serverless, the SAM template actually provides you a serverless AWS serverless function resource definition in which you can define the events, in which if you define the event type as API, then it will automatically create a new API gateway REST API for you, and these are the properties that you are trying to provide it, like the path should be this and the method should be this. So this is quite cool that everything is happening implicitly. So as they have specified here that the serverless REST API is an implicit API created out of the events key under serverless function. So if in a serverless function in the events you define a type as API, then it will get created automatically. You do not need to create another resource explicitly. And another important thing is the output section. An output section of any CloudFormation or a serverless template, the SAM template, is that in the output section, whatever things that you define, they will be available to other CloudFormation stacks as output now. So that is what we are doing here. This is not that important actually. So yeah, so the main thing to understand here is that SAM has actually simplified the way in which you write your CloudFormation template, because now it is quite small and simple. You are just defining your API gateway just like this, and also you do not need to specify a new Lambda execution role because that has already been created. You can override if you want, but right now it has all the required properties. So yeah, so we will check it out how it works, but before that let us see what else we have got. So in hello world we have got app.py. So and in app.py we have got a function called lambda handler. So if we look here, what we have specified is code URI is hello world. So hello world is this. So let me tell you now that what will happen is that SAM will actually publish all your code, the hello world root, as a zip file. So in that zip file we will search for hello world, and in the hello world we want app.lambda handler. So there is app, and in that we have the lambda handler. So by default all the lambda functions provide two parameters to the actual code function that they need to call. They provide an event, and a context. So we have got the event and the context. Okay, and here what we are doing is we are just returning something. We are returning message hello world, right? So it is as simple as that, and it's quite simple actually. You are just returning status code as 200 and the body as message hello world. So this is exactly same as what we did in the last video, but in that we were writing all this code inside the template only, and that is not a feasible solution for all kind of data. Okay, and finally SAM template, the SAM project that we created, it is also providing us with some unit tests, which is also a good thing. It is using PyTest, and this is something which we can explore later. But for now, let us see the other steps that we need to do in order to create our project and deploy our project. Actually, we have created it, but we have to deploy it now, right? So let us see what to do. So moving to the student API. Okay, cd student API, and now the first thing that I would like to do is initialize a new Git repository here, and Git status says that there are a lot of files here, right? So I'm just gonna add all of them. And so this is actually an optional step, you do not need to do it actually. So initial commit, I'm gonna call it initial commit, and that's it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the command called SAM build. So what will SAM build do is that it will create all the artifacts which are required to deploy your application. So this simply means that it will create a new repository, a new directory in your code where it will have everything which is required for uploading to the AWS console. So in the .aws SAM folder, we have something called build, and then the build contains, first of all the code that is required to be uploaded to S3, and the second thing is the final template.yaml file that you need to have. So this is my template.yaml file, and look at that, it removed all the comments because this is the final template that needs to be sent to CloudFormation, and CloudFormation doesn't need to read the comments, right? So that's why it created a final template, CloudFormation template, and this is my code. And look at that, my code actually now contains all the third-party libraries as well, right? So all the third-party libraries have also been packaged into this directory, and this will be uploaded to S3. So how do we do that? So now to do that, it is saying that I can do SAM deploy --guided. Now before we do this SAM deploy --guided thing, we need to understand something. We need to understand that what we're actually doing here is that we are allowing the SAM CLI to take some actions on our AWS console. So for that, SAM CLI will need some permissions. And how do we give those permissions to SAM? So in order to do that, what we'll have to do is we'll have to use the AWS Identity and Access Management service. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new user, a new IAM user, and I'm just going to click on add user here, and here I will give some name to my user. So let me call it test, and the access type I'm going to specify as programmatic access only. So in programmatic access, I will get only an access key ID and secret access key. This user will not be able to use a password to enter into my AWS console. Next, permissions. So what permissions do I want to give to this user? So I'm gonna attach existing policies directly, and for now let me just go with administrator access, but you can always restrict the scope of your permissions that you're giving to your IAM user. But for now, just go with administrator access, but beware, that might not be very safe for you if your key is not that public, if your key is not that private for you actually. So create user. So my user got created. I've got an access key ID, so I'm just gonna copy that. Or wait. So let us see what we have to know. What we have to do next. So we have created an IAM user, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up AWS CLI. So for that, you need to do pip install AWS CLI. So this is the CLI of this is the main CLI of AWS. So I think you have to do pip install AWS CLI without hyphen. Yeah, so this is the one that you need. Okay, so once AWS CLI is installed, you need to do AWS configure. So what AWS configure will do is that it will ask you all the access key ID credentials, all the credentials of your user and your default region, and all those credentials will be saved somewhere in your system, and then SAM will use the permissions of that user to deploy your CloudFormation stack. So that is what is happening here. So I'm just gonna copy my access key ID and gonna paste it here, and then the secret access key. So this secret access key you should share with no one, and let me just copy it and paste it here. The default region name is AP South 1. Let's go with that only. Default output format is JSON. Let's go with that only. So that is done. So our AWS is configured. AWS CLI is configured, and in some folder called .aws at your home directory, you'll be having that. So let me just show you. cd.aws. So here you have the config and the credentials. So at this particular location in your machine, your AWS credentials are getting stored. So let's get back to where we were, and now we can do the SAM deploy double hyphen guided thing. So okay, so the spelling mistake, but that can be fixed. So now it is now asking me what will be my stack name, the CloudFormation stack name. So let's go with student API. The region, let me go with AP South 1, which is Mumbai, much closer to me. And confirm the changes before deploy. Yep. Allow SAM CLI to create some IAM roles. Right, so now SAM CLI is going to create some resources, which is some IAM roles, which will be used for allowing SAM CLI to upload to S3 or make some changes to your CloudFormation stack and all. So we're just going to allow it and save the arguments to a config file. Sure. Now these are the final things that is happening. So now it is uploading my code to some S3 bucket, so that is also fine. And now it is, look at that, it created a change set for my CloudFormation stack. A change set specifies what all changes are going to happen to your CloudFormation stack. So it is saying that all these things will get created, so which is fine. We are going to go with that only. So deploy this change set. Yes, of course. So look at that, now CloudFormation events are happening. So now let us go back to our AWS console and see whatever is happening there. So look at that, student-API. This is my CloudFormation stack. It is in the state review in progress, and yeah, so something has started happening. Look at that, my role got created, everything is getting created now. So yeah, so this is fine. So look at that, without even touching the AWS console, we are now able to deploy our CloudFormation stack, and it is working perfectly for now. So in just a few seconds, all the stack will be deployed. So look at that, the create complete is what we're getting here, which means that the stack got deployed. So finally, just to check if everything is working, we will go into the resources, and in the REST API, we are going to go to our REST API. So this is the API gateway console. And here, this is the student-API, the REST API that got created for me. So now let me just test it. So how do I test it? Let me go to the stages. A new stage called prod got created. So for that prod, this is the invoke URL. So let me just click on it, and let us see what output do we get. Okay, so it is saying that missing authentication token. So this is actually happening because in my resources, this is happening because the route is /hello. So I have to actually specify the correct route in my API. So it is /hello. So it is /prod/hello. Look at that, we are getting the output which is correct. The message is hello world. So it is working perfectly fine. So yeah, so in this way, by doing minimal effort, we have achieved what we wanted to do, and nothing has been done manually on the AWS console. Everything is done systematically, and also a samconfig.2ml file has been created, which specifies that what is my stack name, what is my S3 bucket where my code is getting stored and all. So all this is has been saved here. So next time I want to deploy to my CloudFormation stack with some new changes, then the code will be pushed to the same bucket and the stack will be updated with the name student-API. So this is also a good thing to have, and you should not delete it. So yeah, so this was all for this video. We have learned how to use the SAM CLI, how we can use SAM init to create a new SAM project, boilerplate code, and then how we can use SAM build and SAM deploy. So that is done, but we have to do the actual thing. We have to change this app.py file, which currently is doing almost nothing. So now we have to create an API here. So that is what we'll be doing in the next video. So that's it from this video. If you still have doubts, you can put them in the comment section below. See you later.